what's a good way for the public to find research information that's, that's pretty relevant, that we can learn from, particularly around AI and this, disruptive transformation period?
Well, we no longer can do, we no longer can control what our programs at Department of Energy
I
did. So
know.
I feel like I can't just say, and we could speak to some of the investments that I know that you were a part of, that I was a part of too, that because we feel that this is a really important, really important thing. But I will step back and say, there's a traditional way, there's a historic way that information flows across the research and development to technology adoption life cycle, from the national laboratories and from Department of Energy to industry and Department of Defense. But one message that I would take from being in the defense space is that we really are feeling, I don't mean to say really, because I don't want to diminish the importance. There is driven by risk and evidence, recognition of the urgency of this moment to do things differently and better than we used to. So before, we might just rely on conferences, and we might rely on conferences are, academic and industry conferences are a way that we would share information. Another way that we would share information is that we would bring in interns, have them intern at the national laboratories or intern at Department of Energy, and then honestly hope that they get hired by industry companies to pull that information, or, postdocs. But those are no longer sufficient in this era of increased urgency, as from the Department of Defense perspective, we refer to the very real challenge presented to the United States by a very competitive China. And even if you are not paying attention, I don't mean paying attention, but even if the war fighting, international security aspect of that is not super important to you, which that's totally fine, but this is a complex issue. It also refers to the fact that in manners of business, in manners of what becomes standards across the international community, that's what this competition with China is also about, so we lose a lot of ability. The concern is that we would lose a lot of the ability to promote and operate according to ways that are in our national interest or according to our values, if we were to lose this competition with China. So that manifests in defense as more of a security angle, but it is broader than just security. It is values, it is economics, it is free, open, and secure commerce, and but there's a real urgency in this competition with China presented right now that requires that we do things differently.